The midweek cup exit means it's all eyes on the league for Argyle now. 13 games to try and get lucky and produce a late playoff push. A run of 3 games against the sides in the bottom 7 starts this afternoon up in Rotherham. Argyle have put themselves in a great position with just over a third of the season to go. A trio of wins last week has them 6 points adrift of the playoff places, and they have a chance today against a Rotherham side who have lost their last 4. Plenty at stake at both ends of the table then, and all of the action coming your way on Argyle TV. The time is now then for Argyle. Welcome to Match Day Live. If they are to mount a playoff push, you feel that they'll need to get a result today, and you would argue that they wouldn't get a better opportunity against a side trying to avoid a 5th straight defeat. Your match passes, both audio and video, are available right now over on the website. You want to head to pafc.co.uk for all of the details. And thank you for joining us here on Match Day Live, where we're going to cover all of the build-up ahead of kick-off at 3 p.m. I'm pleased to say joining me this afternoon is, of course, Aaron Cusack, and we're also joined by former Argyle ladies captain Katie Middleton. Good afternoon, both.
Good afternoon, Aaron.
Afternoon.
Tasty game today, hopefully. Should be a good one for Argyle.
Yeah, I mean, it looks on paper to be a game that you'd think, you know, we can go and continue the good recent form that was shown in the league. So, you know, we were chatting earlier about maybe Rotherham being in a slightly false position in the league, but you know, on current form and with our exceptional away form currently, you know, you'd expect us to go there and get a result today.
Because you were saying earlier on when we were in the other room, our away form, we're 3rd in the table technically.
Absolutely flying. It's only the top 2 in the league who are ahead of us on away form. So yeah, I mean, it's obviously something that is kind of a bit foreign, I think, isn't it, to us as Argyle fans? You know, it's always been, you know, particularly over the last 3 or 4 seasons, it's been the home form which has been the steadying, and then the away form, you know, we've picked up points as and when we can, but this season it's almost been sort of the reverse of that. So, you know, hopefully that continues again today. Yeah,
we've got mentioned Tuesday night as well, Aaron, a bit of a blip there, but how much will that be factoring into going into today's game, do you think?
You know, that naturally it'll be in the back of their minds, because when you pick up win after win, you go into each game feeling you're in that period quite invincible. We're on a crest of a wave, momentum's with us. They had a bit of a setback in midweek. Personally, I think it may be a bit of a game too far. You know, the congestion of games that have come up recently.
I think a lot of people have spoken about when you said that congestion. It was just like one after another after another.
Yeah, and if you take into consideration the travel as well.
Yeah.
You know, Leyton Orient away on a Tuesday night, Blackpool away on a Saturday, Luton away on a Tuesday night. They're long distances, so the players aren't getting that settled period to rest, recover, do some real quality, you know, development on the training field. They have to maintain and conserve energy as best they can. So today, you know, what they've got to do is remind themselves of why they're in this good reign of form, especially on the road, why they're capable of beating teams of higher calibre if we look at, you know, where Rotherham are in the league, but don't disrespect the opposition, which they won't, and go out and put a performance that we know they're capable now of doing.
Yeah. Do you think maybe potentially we could have, you know, you're at risk of a situation, of course we saw Argyle go up against Cardiff. I think everybody would have expected Cardiff to have had a better game themselves, and like you said, Katie, maybe Rotherham being in this slightly false position, that there is a risk that we could underestimate them because of their position in the table, and actually they could, you know, really pull the wool over everyone's eyes.
Yeah, but I don't think at any point this season we've been in a position to be able to underestimate anyone. You know, the season's been so up and down, and you know, we've only recently now found this sort of run of form, which has obviously, you know, made us climb up the league. But you know, I think we spent so long in that bottom 4 that actually we've not been in a position to underestimate anybody. So you know, I think we've kind of got that mentality now of, you know, every game is, you've got to go out and win the game. You can't underestimate anyone you're playing against. And you know, for me, I think the Luton defeat in midweek probably brings everyone back to earth a little bit.
It's a bit of a ground.
And I think, you know, you get a little bit carried away, and I think fans often get a little bit carried away.
I mean, if there was a game to get carried away by,
it was
the
Cardiff game. So, you know, I feel like that kind of just brings everyone back down a level again, and, you know, allows just people to sort of reset and, it's another opportunity again to go and push on and hopefully, start to close that gap between us and the playoffs a little bit.
Yeah, that would be... we'll just have to see how that goes. Kick-off in Yorkshire is just under an hour away now, and it is our job, of course, to get you in the mood for that game. So let's see what we've got coming up on Matchday Live for you this afternoon. We'll be getting the thoughts of Tom Cleverley ahead of kick-off. He'll be talking us through his team selection just a little bit later on in the programme. And Wes Harding, who spent 3 seasons at Rotherham, talks about some of his favourite things away from the pitch. It's actually a very Harding heavy show today because he's also in the hot seat for Get the Badge In a little bit later on in the programme. After a long journey for Argyle, then a 4th away game in the last 2 weeks, there are a few fitness concerns for Tom Cleverley coming into it. So we'll just have a quick look at the team that he's gone with today and discuss it in a bit more detail in a second. On screen for you there, Ashby Hammond, Plegathwello, Edwards, Mitchell, Watts, Boateng, Peppel, Curtis, Sorinola, Finn and Harding are your starting 11. 4 changes since Tuesday night, and it's a few interesting changes, isn't it, Aaron?
Yeah, it is. It's enforced. We've got players who I think Matthias Ross has not made it, and he's out for a week or so. Clearly, Connor Hazard has picked up an injury. We think maybe it might be groin. So we're not too sure of the significance of that injury. Yeah. But you've got to pull on your squad, and we said in recent weeks, Erin, injuries will happen.
Yeah.
Hopefully the 11 out there, I'm sure the 11 out there is more than capable of winning this football match. It really is. But obviously when you lose 4 players, you do have to pull on that squad and you go a little bit deeper with what's available to you.
Yeah. I think when we were looking at the lineup earlier, you were saying about, Curtis being brought forward, and we're seeing that there and Tegan Finn being brought in as well. It's a big coup for him. To get a start today.
Well, it is, especially in front of Xavier Amici, who's obviously a more senior player. But Tegan scored in the week, and Cleverley and the coaches feel that he's deserving of that. He scored 4 in the under-18 game last week. So what I like about his attitude is he's gone away to get minutes. He's showcasing his qualities at his own age group.
Yeah.
And now he's been, selected on merit because he's also scored in the week. So it'll be interesting to see where they play. Edwards might play in the middle, or will Watts play in there, and Sorinola go to the left-hand side. We don't quite know, do we? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Injuries-wise, Katie, we've got to talk about them because it's like every week there is a new injury, and we've been, unfortunately given a handful really going into today's game as well. It's yes. A lot keeps happening.
It seems to be a curse at the moment, doesn't it? Just, when you think, you're getting players back and a couple of weeks ago you look at the bench and you think, we've got a really solid bench here as well. It's a really good, good options off there, and then, a couple drop out again, you pick up a few more injuries and, it's difficult. And I think, like you said, that kind of build-up and congestion of fixtures probably doesn't help because, you have no time to sort of recover properly before you then off on another long journey somewhere and, just minutes after minutes after minutes. And because we haven't got the bigger squad, players are being asked to play lots of minutes, and these injuries are going to happen. So it's how you deal with them. Like you say, it's an opportunity for the players who take over the shirt to show what they can do, and hopefully today we see the best of those players who are coming in.
Yeah, Talai, of course, a name that is absent. He's joining Rawls, Kane and Galloway on the treatment table, which means really, again, not pressure as such, but some responsibility falls on the likes of Bin Peppel. Yeah. As we spoke about Talai being kind of a talisman a bit earlier on in the season, but Peppel's almost stepping into that role a little bit now.
Yeah, he is, and it's really great to see someone outside of Lauren Talai being able to step up to the mantle and score goals. And what Bin Peppel has demonstrated in his last 6 goals in particular is the variety of his goal scoring. He's got this capability of arriving onto good balls into areas now, so as in his anticipation's improving. Yeah. He's having tap-ins, but he's also scoring goals of this calibre, which are, really kind of outstanding individual efforts. His goal here against Mansfield and the one previously against Lincoln. So he's showing that variation, and I think pressure is a privilege for Bim. I really do. I think he stepped up really well. He had his critics at the start of the year. It took him a while to kind of get a foothold into the team, and now Cleverley and the coaches clearly trust him. and we're seeing, what is his 8 goals in 9 games? You know, he's on a crest of a wave, and that's what you want from players outside of your talisman. So Lawrence Alai has been absent, we know that. It's brilliant to see him back last week, but in BIM you've got someone who's also available and ready to score goals. So, you know, he's the leading marksman in that front line today.
And he seems to be really enjoying himself as well. Like, you can see on his face when he scores a goal, and like almost thought he was going to fight some of the crowd after he scored at Cardiff, how much it means to him. And I suppose that mindset as well is incredibly crucial.
Absolutely. And Bim will have immense confidence in himself. You know, he knows he's got the attributes to score goals. He knew that. He had the belief. He just needed the time and the opportunity to be presented with what he could show. And now the fans can see the qualities that he brings. And it's not just his goal-scoring qualities, it's his hold-up play as well. That's got so much better. He's sharper, he's fitter. So his all-round game has really gone to that next level. And long may that continue, because we're into the business end of the season, aren't we? Like the kind of the last quarter of it as we go forward.
And Katie, just to touch on the defence element as well, of course we've seen Ashby Hammond in for Hazard today, and you know, then there's going to be a bit more pressure on the defence to make sure that we're not, I think clean sheets have been something that we maybe have been striving for, and while we've been fortunate lately that we haven't necessarily needed them, this is something that, you know, is playing on the mind as well. Yeah,
and I don't think you can always rely on scoring 3 or 4 goals at the other end, which we have done recently. If you look at the last 3 games at least, we've scored 3 or more in all of them. So, you know, you can afford to concede 1 or 2 and get away with it. But obviously that becomes more difficult. And, you know, again, Ashby Hammond, another player who's had critics this season. You know, we've certainly looked better, I think, when Hazard's been in goal. You know, we've conceded much less. But yeah, it's important that not just the back 4, but everybody in front of Ashby Hammond today does their defensive duties well. You know, I think there were times against Cardiff where Wes Harding was a bit isolated and, you know, didn't have a huge amount of help from Caleb Watts in front of him. So you can't sort of allow that to happen again today. So yeah, it's got to be a collective effort. And what's good for me, and I'm sure for the players, is the fact that we've now got to this 0 goal difference. We're not in the minus anymore, which, you know, I think again is a real big positive. So, you know, we want to keep building on that, and yeah, obviously the more defensively solid we are, the more likely we're going to go and win games. So, you know, hopefully we can show today that we've got that sort of defensive mindset that we can really sort of strive to keep pushing on and picking up as many points as we can.
Yeah, injuries actually has also been a hot topic amongst Rotherham fans as well. They're, of course, without Joe Powell, Dan Gore and Jordan Hugill, who are regulars this season. But we'll have a look at who they have chosen for their starting lineup on screen for you there. Can, Rafferty, James, Nombe, Martha, Baptiste, Yearwood, Benson, Watmore, Gray and Degboyega. Sam Nombe, Aaron, you know, they're in the starting lineup. One to look out for. Yeah,
he's had issues with injury himself, but he scored, you know, 8 goals in all competitions and 11 starts. So he is their talisman. I think he signed for just under or over £1 million from Exeter. So he's got a link to our nearest rivals up the road. He scored in previous games against us, so he is a threat. How fit he is, we don't know. You know, has he got 90 minutes in him? We'll have to wait and see. But, you know, what we've got to do is nullify their biggest threats. And in Sam Nombe, he is their best striker. And it's important for Mitchell and Pleguezello to do a job. And what I will say is, like, Pleggy coming back into the starting 11, you know, he's a good player.
Yeah.
He's an excellent player. You know, he's been out with injuries. Matthias Ross and Mitchell have formed this quite colossus back line as pair. But in the absence of Ross, Pleggy can come in, and we know the qualities he possesses. So hopefully, you know, we've got Nombe on screen here now, that 27 years old, 7 goals in the league. That's the job of Mitchell and Pleggy, isn't it, this afternoon, to thwart him. What I like about Nombe is he's their penalty taker, but it's also his awareness in the box. Now, you know, I know he's an opposition player, but I like good football players, and I like the fact that he will shoot on sight. He will get into those, like, real dangerous, potent red zone areas, and, you know, he's a threat. And players like to play against players who offer those qualities, and they want to showcase what they're capable of doing, of overcoming those challenges. So, Pleggy and Mitchell, for me, will relish that opportunity this afternoon.
Yeah, I think he's only got 1 goal in his last 7 games, something like that. So he's not, on kind of firing on all cylinders at the moment. And they, of course, have only scored 1 goal in their last 4 matches, and that was that penalty against Doncaster. So it's refreshing to be on a flip side where you're looking at a team that haven't had a particularly good goal scoring record, and then Argyle coming off the back of actually, like you said, we've been in that position where clean sheets haven't necessarily mattered because we've built up this goal deficit. So it's nice to be in that position, but you can't rely on it always happening, can you, Casey?
No, definitely not. And you've probably jinxed it now. You've said Nombe he's only got 1 in his last 7 or whatever, so you can guarantee he'll score today, can't you? Playing against us, an Exeter player as well. So, like Aaron said, it's about nullifying the threats of opposition players, and he's certainly probably the biggest threat for them. They've, like us, I guess, had lots of injury issues and maybe not got a full squad to call on, so you rely on those players. It was like us with Talai when he was the only person scoring for us. Then he gets injured and you think, oh, where do the goals come from? But, again, it's a marker, isn't it? Other people have got to step up and take over that mantle a little bit, which obviously Bim has done really well for us. So, we hope today that it's not an opportunity for someone else in the Rotherham side to find their goal-scoring boots and cause us problems. Yeah,
I absolutely don't want to have jinxed that at all. Of course, interestingly as well, Argyle loan signing Wes Harding spent 3 seasons with Rotherham, so he knows the side pretty well, getting promoted and winning the then Papa John's Trophy with them back in 2022. He has been a regular in the Argyle side since arriving a few weeks ago from Millwall, and he's clearly settling into life at Plymouth well.
So there's a combination here of like football, sporting related questions and some more rogue ones. Cool. But hopefully it gives everybody an insight into the real Wes Harding. We'll start off easy. We'll start off football. What is your first memory of either playing or watching football?
First memory of playing would be my dad taking me literally like a 20-minute journey to like my local team and just playing football. I remember having my debut, scoring and stuff, and just feeling really good. I was a striker back then. But real good early memories. My first game I went to was, so I grew up in Leicester, and it was at the Walker Stadium at the time. I think it was called the Walkers. And Jamaica played against Brazil in a friendly.
Wow.
Which was, so it's the best country in Brazil. And my background, Jamaican heritage. So, there's a large Jamaican community in Leicester as well. So all of us getting down there, watching that was amazing. I think Brazil won 1-0. Seeing Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, all these players, world-class players. It was, the best first game to go to.
Isn't it? Like, literally, as you say, someone, your family from Jamaica against arguably Brazil, the most iconic team there is in your city.
It's crazy.
Couldn't help but fall in love with it.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So once you got the taste for football, how did it evolve then? So a few questions. Who did you support? Who did you follow? And like, who was the player you looked up to the most?
Arsenal, Thierry Henry. To answer the question quickly, Arsenal, they were the best team when I was growing up. It was them and Man United going at it. And Thierry Henry was just pace, goals, and top player in the world. So I'd say those two.
Okay, we've had a couple of people say Thierry Henry before doing this, and they always then wear the number 14 shirt, whereas yours is 45.
Yeah.
Never thought, never wanted 14.
Nah. I mean, bar Thierry Henry, it's not really for me anyway. A great shirt number. 45's always been a number I've loved from when I first broke through the first team at Birmingham. Okay. 45 was my number, so wherever I go, I try to get that number.
Are you one for like keeping shirts and memorabilia and stuff?
Yeah.
Your own or other people's? Like
own. So I'll keep all my Plymouth shirts, for example, every different colour, and then I tend to not. I haven't played against. So you see, with the FA Cup draw, I haven't played against an Arsenal or a Man City or anything like that. So I haven't really kept any shirts from opposition, but when I play against somebody I know on another team, I tend to swap with them.
What do you do with them when you've got
Just
them?
keep them. They're in the garage currently, folded up. But when I finally retire and I've got my house that I'm settled in, I'll have them all hung up.
Wes Harding there, and joining Aaron and myself in the studio now is a former American footballer, now coach, who has a link to the Southwest and Plymouth. Michael Reed played in the North American Soccer League and the USL Championship, which is kind of like the equivalent of the Championship over here in England, for 8 years before he entered the world of coaching. And he has set up a link with Southwest England and sent players over here to gain experience working with the likes of Darren Way and our very own Aaron Cusack. Good afternoon, Michael. Thank you for being with us. As I understand, you've been adopted as a bit of an Argyle fan now, I'm imagining, through your connection with Aaron.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I'm happy to be here, and it's been a great experience. So, yeah, I'm hooked. I'm hooked.
Great. No, thank you. Thank you for coming. It's just such a shame it's not a home game today, because the atmosphere is not quite the same when the pitch is empty.
I'll be coming back, and I heard that I brought the sun as well, so I'm a bit of a good luck charm.
I will take that. I think this is the first sunny day we've had in what feels like about 2.5 months. So yeah, thank you for bringing the sun with you. So what's your journey then into football, soccer for you, I guess? Because I'm saying American football player, but that can mean something different.
I'll try and keep it clean as well, because I'm mixing it up on my end. Are you talking about the coaching or the playing?
Just originally, how did you, because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but soccer maybe isn't as big of a sport over in America as it is over here. There's a lot of other avenues that you can pursue. So how did you find your way into soccer?
That's a great question. Great question. I'm originally from Albuquerque, New Mexico, which is southern, dry, desert, things like that. And there was a very big influence, more like a Mexican culture.
Right.
So playing on the streets, indoor, I was hooked immediately with that environment. And I would be playing from 10 to 1 in the morning. And I just loved the organic process of just playing. From there, I was kind of good. And it just exploded for me. I was playing in Mexico. I was going up to Canada. I was going to all places in the U.S. for footy. And that was basically it. So that's more of like my upbringing and enjoyment of it. And then from the coaching standpoint, contracts aren't so great in the U.S. financially. So my first pro gig was actually in Minnesota. And the coach was he's an educator, he was a mentor, and he's just like, look, we can only give you so much, but you have to pay the bills. So we're going to chuck you in with the little kids.
Right.
And that was an experience. We've talked in length about that. But it was good for me all around, and it created a different passion besides just the playing. And from there, I've coached every age group, youth to pro, and it's been a very blessed journey.
And both of you are, you know, working together, and your paths are crossing in that professional coaching environment. Aaron, like, what similarities and differences have you noticed in maybe, I don't know, style, or just in terms of how the whole setup works? Because I think, you know, you've sent players over here. What's that like, seeing the American influence versus the...
Well, interesting, because we were talking this morning, weren't we, before we came on air, about how the US is very privatised. So it's very much about pay and play, you know, pay quite significant amounts of money to get their child into a, you know, a pathway of some kind. And Mike and I, the reason why I wanted to hook up more often with Mike is that we share the same values, development over results always, especially in that youth sector. So Mike reached out a couple of years ago about offering an experience for one of the players he was working with. He wanted to explore the possibility of coming to England and maybe becoming a professional player, but he had no prior experience. So rather than jump to a Premier League team, well, you know, I had some links with Plymouth here. Darren Way, who was the under-18 manager at the time, was willing to accommodate Hayden, and he came over for 4 weeks. And Mike's worked with Hayden quite closely, and in that time he trained with the 18s. And what was nice is that the crossovers were very similar. So Mike is all about development, and I said to Mike at the time, Hayden needs to appreciate, even with all respect, you know, the lower echelons of professional football, under-18 football, to determine how close he is to that before he starts exploring, I want to play in the Premier League type of thing. And then we've kept in contact from there, haven't we, as we've gone through.
Because the system over in the States, it's like a pyramid system, isn't it?
It's
Or
chaos.
Yeah.
We can say it is, but I don't know if I really buy into that. I have a hard time with it. It's very chaotic, and the question parents are asking are the right questions. It's like, what is the pathway for my son or daughter? And it's different. It's not clean. It's not simple. It's not the same. You have MLS academies. You have youth soccer, ECNL is what it's called, which is a competitive piece. You have college. And if you wanted what's best for a child, you're asking from a competitive standpoint, what's the best route? And it's not clean. It's not simple. It's not direct. It's very much like, do I just bounce around? My child's being looked at by an MLS academy. Well, what's the guarantee? And if you look at the results, there's not many guarantees. There's not a clean pathway, and it's caused a lot of trouble and chaos for American parents and players and coaches, because we're very much a piece of this. It's just like, what's best for child development, and it's not there.
Yeah. So I guess Hayden then, for example, being able to send him over here to gain some experience was beneficial in terms of then the path that he was able to take.
I think it's hard because we like to compare as Americans. We like to go, all right, well, if I look at England, then it's the pathway of promotion relegation.
Yeah.
You don't have promotion relegation. And so if you're a player and you want to start bumping yourself up, how do you compare? What does that look like? And if you're a player who's out of college, they go, well, I'm supposed to be a pro in America. I'm not.
Right.
Can I start going elsewhere? It's just like, it's not that simple. And I think it's really challenging to say specifically where is America in the map of professional soccer, first tier, second tier, third tier, what's appropriate, because I think England is very, very competitive in all the tiers. Same thing with the Germans, same thing with other countries. And so if you're an American and you want to give it a go, where do you go? And yeah, I think the exposure is really healthy to be grounded and awareness. But yeah.
What is the talent pool like then over in the States in terms of the people that you're working with? Because of course we've got Bim Peppel here, Canadian, so different country, but North America nonetheless. What are you hoping to see more US players coming over to the UK and making it?
That'd be a great look for America. That'd be a great look. My curiosity right now is where is America going to go with, I think, the future of soccer?
I mean, the World Cup will surely...
World Cup year, isn't it? Yeah, so
that's
you're on the
gotta
map.
help.
All the world will be watching.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. And I'm not, I'm saying that with optimism, but I'm also saying this with the things that I know now is you have first tier and second tier organizations, MLS, USL Championship, that are creating academies. Where do those players go? A lot of them, do they filter into the first team, their version of the first team, or do they just get sold elsewhere? And I would like to see more consistency and professionalism when it comes to the organization and the development side. Because, I mean, ultimately you got to develop players in order for another country to want you, right? If you're an English professional team, why would you choose an American over your academy system? And I think that's a very valid point. I think America, from an ownership standpoint, it looks like profiting is priority versus developing, and I think those two can go hand in hand. If you produce more players, you can profit off of those players. So do they value the coaches in finances, for example? Do you pay them a healthy salary, or are you trying to get the bare minimums?
Yeah.
And I just think the intention and the efforts can be more clear for that pathway.
Well, hopefully what we see in the coming, like you said, World Cup year, Aaron, starts to put things more on the map football-wise for the US. And I also, just before you go, wanted to touch on your adopted Argyle fanness then, because you've got links with Baxter as well, who you used to play with, our former Argyle player. Yeah. Is that where it kind of started, or is it a new thing?
I think it's personality and culture. It seems to be a very healthy culture in Plymouth, and I've really enjoyed the personality. So Josie Baxter's great. We had a great time whenever we played together in Memphis, and a lot of commonalities, and it's the same with Aaron. So I'm overjoyed, and it's a bit of a too easy. It's too easy for me to make that decision.
Well, we need to get you. There's an Argyle USA sticker just next to you on the bookshelf. We'll have to see if we can get you some. Did you say Minnesota was part of your?
Minnesota.
There's a Minnesota one right there next to you.
Oh my gosh!
There we are.
I'm going to be stealing some things.
Yes, I'm sure the Argyle USA guys that are watching will be very happy that we've had another Argyle USA contingent on the show today. I was going to say the sofa, but you've been lumped with the individual chairs today. We've got a lovely green sofa that we used to have on the breakfast show that's probably a little bit more comfy, but you've done a great job not squeaking through the interview.
I realised that at the end. I'm like, I need to slow down here.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming in.
Yeah, thanks, mate. It's been
Sorry
great.
we can't, take you out for a really amazing game on the pitch, but I'm sure Aaron's given you the tour, or will do at some point. And it's been really great to get to know you, and hopefully we'll see you back again soon.
Will do.
More stuff.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. We are going to go to our next game now. I don't know if you've seen this or not, Mike. We're not going to put you on the spot, don't worry. Although I'm sure you'd actually be up for it and really good. We'd said earlier that it was going to be a bit of a Wes Harding heavy show today. The Rotherham favourite goes back to his old club, of course, to play this afternoon in the green of Argyle. And we've heard about how he's settling into life in Plymouth, but how good is he under pressure? He's going to be up against the clock today, taking on our game Get to the Badge In, and we'll have to see if he makes it to the top of the leaderboard.
Hi, I'm Wesley Harding, and this is Get the Badge In.
Right, Sam, can you count me in? 3, 2, 1.
Plymouth, Rotherham, Bristol City, Swansea City, Man United, Grimsby Town, Wolves, Exeter, Leicester, Millwall, Fulham, Sunderland, Everton, Crystal Palace, Colchester, Notts County, Coventry City, Birmingham City, Shrewsbury Town, Pass, Cardiff, Brighton, Lincoln, Pass, Stoke, Pass, Newcastle, Pass,
Time.
No!
Ridiculously good start.
Rolls it across for Paul Watson, steaming in, and that's 4. It is a first half to dream of if you play for Plymouth Argyle.
Now Hodges to swing in this free kick. Coughlin is there, the keeper's dropped it, and he scored! It's Evans! Well, I've got 45 seconds on the clock. Going it towards the far post this time. Coughlin knocking it back across. It's been turned in by Hasni Al-Joffrey.
Norris. Oh, lovely little bit of skill. Sends that deep. And that is 1-0. Would you believe that?
Joffrey with the long throw. In towards Evans. He manages to get a foot to it. But there it is, curled into the corner of the net. And Nicky Evans absolutely delighted.
Sent deep. There's Stonebridge with a header. Oh, Argyle are now coasting. Ian Stonebridge strikes for the Pilgrims.
All right, welcome back. We are just under 30 minutes away from kick-off for this afternoon's game between Rotherham United and Plymouth Argyle. Argyle, of course, looking for their 4th league win in a row. They are up against a relegation-threatened Rotherham side who are hoping to avoid a 5th straight defeat. Tom Cleverley has been speaking to Argyle TV upon arrival at their stadium, and here he is with Rob McNichol.
Tom, I think the eye catchers in the starting 11 are Julio Pleguezuelo returning for the first time in a while, and Tegan Finn getting a start after his substitute appearance on Tuesday. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so starting with Pleggy, he's a very senior player for us. He's in the 6 games that he played for us, I think we only conceded 2 goals. He's someone that we trust and rely on an awful lot. He's just not been available as much as we'd like, so now he is back to full fitness, then no problems putting him straight in.
And for Tegan?
Tegan deserves his chance. He's like I say, he's had to be patient the last couple of months. The introduction and the success of Ronan Curtis out on that side, And for Tegan to be starting ahead of players like Zavamichi is showing you the hard work and application and the positive impact he had coming on Tuesday. So full trust in Tegan, and he deserves a chance.
Unfortunately, and this is something you're used to someone like me asking you, there are a couple more injuries. We talked about Laurent Tolai and Brendan Wiradu on Thursday, but I understand there's a couple since then, really.
Yeah, obviously we've got Conor Hazard, who unfortunately has got a small groin issue. Likely to see him out for the next 2, if possibly 3 games. So we'll see Connor's progression next week, and then Matthias Ross has had a flared up Achilles, which we'll do a bit more investigation on, and hopefully he's just missing this weekend. Bradley Ibrahim has also had a reaction to his ankle and his return and his load, so we need to be careful with that. So yeah, to lose 4 starters from your last league game and all of them down the spine of the team is disappointing, but I see it as opportunities for other players who we have full faith in.
Speaking of faith, the Argyle fans will travel in the numbers as usual, more than 1,000 again here today. They've seen some good success of late, they'll be hoping for some more.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that we act from Tuesday, because Tuesday was nowhere near the levels that we've shown before that in the last 3 months. So we have given our travelling support some good days and some sort of payback for all their loyal support and dedication to the team. Tuesday wasn't quite the levels we've set, and we're really keen and hungry to put that right.
Good luck today.
Thank you.
Tom Cleverley there, and Katie Middleton has subbed back in for Mike. Welcome back to the studio.
Thank you.
Katie, injuries is the topic of the day, and he's mentioned there, like losing 4 players from the starting lineup in the last league game. Do you think Argyle, this getting in the playoff places dream is still viable with, factoring in what Cleverley is saying, missing elements of the spine of the team? Like how big can we hope here?
It's really difficult to say, isn't it? And, like we said, it's about how those squad players essentially kind of fit into things and drive us forwards again. And I think injuries will have a big say in probably potentially where we finish. You can't be missing, I don't even know what we're up to, 7, 8 maybe sort of first team players out currently. So that obviously is going to take its toll, and like you say, the risk is there that other players pick up injuries because they're having to play a whole lot more than potentially they would have done before. So, I think there was talk earlier in the season about, trying to get to the bottom of why we were picking up so many injuries. I don't think we sort of heard a huge amount off the back of that, but is it something again that the club need to look at in terms of what we're doing either on the training pitch or in recovery and the medical staff and that kind of thing? It has decimated us at times this season, hasn't it? And you don't want your big players to be missing from games, particularly coming into the last 13 games I think we're at now. And it's a crucial time really for us to try and push on. And if we're going to make a run for the playoffs, now's the time to be consistently picking up points.
You almost have got into a position where you've come to expect that you won't ever have a fully fit choice of availability. Someone's always giving from one week to the next, really, aren't they?
Yeah, and you accept that over the course of the year where one player picks up a knock, but when you start to lose 3 and 4 in the same week, then there is definitely a correlation there. Yeah. So there needs to, and the medical staff will do their best to monitor that. Whether travel plays a part, we don't know, do we? But what we can focus on is the players that are available. And they should see that and relish the challenge and say, right, well, me being picked today, this is my opportunity to showcase the qualities I have to help this team win a football match. Yeah. Because if you look over your shoulder and say, oh, we didn't win because such and such isn't available, then I think you do yourself a disservice. Yeah. So the players who are coming in today, well, here's your chance. Showcase what you're capable of doing to win 3 points, 3 big points that are available this afternoon.
Yeah, and you have a squad of players for that reason, don't you? It's not, you don't have an 11. You have a whole squad.
I don't think we've been a very good position.
No. And that there's weeks where more people are available, and you've got players who don't travel and aren't even in a match day squad. So you have those players to pick from for that reason. So as you said, Aaron, it's just about focusing on what we do have available and trying to get that right on the pitch. And if we do that, then we can pick up 3 points again today.
Yeah, we'd certainly like to see that. As mentioned, Rotherham United are in a big fight for survival at the moment. Matt Hamshaw's side, 5 points from safety and in a real danger of dropping into League Two for the first time since 2013. Let's have a look and see how he's feeling ahead of this afternoon's game.
With each of the defeat that's passed recently, has it become mentally harder for these players to feel like the next good result is just around the corner?
I think psychology is key in all sport, isn't it? And it's important that we make sure we keep reaffirming things to them and showing them the positives. Look, we don't dress away from showing them the things that they've done wrong, or there's a meeting going on as we speak now about defensive work. But we've had the attackers in, we've gone through some unit stuff, we've gone through some individual stuff. So the lads are fully aware of what needs to happen. It's now taking that onto the pitch, and as much as we've not had results, some of the performances have been okay. Not amazing, but okay. And I think if we'd have lost 1-0 at Bradford in August, September and played that way, there might not have been a bigger hoo-ha. But I'm well aware of the situation we're in and where we're at. And every game that comes up now is key, and we have to go into it like that.
Duncan Watmore said that he feels within the group there is the ability and the determination to get out of this. Do you get that sense as well as the manager?
100%, yeah. Otherwise, I won't still be sat here talking to you. I firmly believe in this group. We've missed key players. We've missed key players all season. We need them players back, like your Pals, your Gores of the night, Denzel Halls. I even mentioned about John Ugle at the end there with putting crosses in the box. And Sam Nombe has obviously been a little bit lonely. Harry's done reasonably well so far. He's been disappointed with odd thing, but I think he's given us a new dimension. Duncan obviously couldn't go again the other night due to his lack of playing time and game time over the period he's out of the game, but you saw what a threat he could be Saturday, and we have people in those areas. I thought Martha were much better the other night. He's been disappointing previous 2 games, but I thought he showed signs of what he's capable of doing. So all those players we're going to need, but we need goals from centre-backs, full-backs, set-pieces, you name it. It's not all on the attackers, but we need to be better in certain aspects of the game.
I mean, historically, they've always been a side that's done quite well at this level, and he seems, relatively chipper considering the run that they've been in at the moment. But I think, like you were saying earlier, Katie, that maybe they're not in the position that they are in the table isn't an accurate reflection of exactly what they're capable of with the players that they've got. So it's been a bit of a mixed bag for them, really, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has, and I think when you look at the whole of the league, from top to bottom, there's not a huge, distance in terms of points. Sometimes by this stage, the bottom sides are way off it, the top sides are, and playoffs are out of reach for a lot of sides. But actually, the league seems to be really condensed, and sort of everyone can beat everyone. So, I don't think they're out of it in terms of kind of, they're obviously sitting 23rd or wherever they are at the moment, but. They'll think they can get themselves back into it with a good run of games. You pick up 2 or 3 wins on the bounce and you're right back in it again. So, they've got good players, they've got a good squad that they're obviously not getting the most of out at the moment. And, they've obviously had their injury issues and things as well. So, today could be an interesting game.
I think they're facing a bit of an uphill battle, aren't they, Aaron? Because their next 7 games against sides chasing playoffs or promotion, you start with us, who are daring to dream it might be possible. You've got Huddersfield, you've got Bolton, you've got Peterborough, Lincoln, Luton, Stevenage. Yeah. It's a bit of a crunch time that starts very much this afternoon for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, they've lost their last 4. Matt Hamshaw is under pressure. Teams coming to their neck of the woods are in form. So every game they're going to go into against teams who are chasing higher parts of the league could be notable scalps. And it will start with us today. They'll be aware of the fact that we're in a good way form, we're in good form in general. And they've got to have a revival at some point if they're going to stay up, and they'll be saying, why not today? But one thing we've got to do is turn the crowd. Yeah. Get up there straight away. If we can dominate the game and score early, that will change the dynamic of the crowd. That will turn on the players. That will turn on the manager. And that might play into our hands. So every game, as it comes, and hopefully we've got enough to pick up the 3, you know.
Yeah, well, we haven't got very much longer to wait until we see how it's going to go. 15 minutes until kick-off now. If you haven't got your Match Pass yet, or you're not an Argyle TV subscriber, this is your last reminder to do so. You want to head over to pafc.co.uk to get all of the details for that. We'll have a quick look back over the 2 teams then. Going head-to-head this afternoon, we'll go back to Argyle's squad there for you. You know, Aaron, looking at that for you, who are the couple of standout players, do you think, for Argyle today?
Well, for me, the front two, like Pepper we know is in terrific form, but Ronan Curtis has been a revelation. He's been an outstanding signing, he really has. And he's just got so much quality in his deliveries. But for me, collectively, I think Wes Harding will need a lot more support from Caleb Watts if Watts is deployed on that left side. Like you said, last week at Cardiff, he was a little bit overrun, wasn't he, at times by Tanner, Harding was. So, you know, for me, the units have got to work together. So Sorinola and Finn as a pair, what are they like defensively as a pair to you know, do their job on that right-hand side? But if you can get Curtis on the ball and delivering the ball to the level he's capable of doing, we've got every chance of scoring goals. And, you know, even though, so I don't think those numbers do him credit, because obviously we've spoken about assists in goals. He's been involved in 9 or 10 contributions, and, you know, with Tegan Finn scoring in the week, that was Curtis, I think, getting in the way and creating that chance for him. But this was his first goal for the club at Leyton Orient a couple of weeks ago. But this is where he comes into his own for me. The quality of his deliveries have been up there with any player in the league for me. He's got, what I love about him is he's just really direct, and he puts the ball in dangerous areas. And if you've got players in those dangerous areas, you're going to have chances. You really are. And he seems to have developed this. I've shamed Matthias Ross is not available, but him and Ross have come up with this telepathic, you know, dual, where they're working as a pair to kind of, you know, you put it in this area and I'll run on and score. And unfortunately, that partnership's broken today. But it invites people like Plaguey and Mitchell to step up and be on the receiving end of it.
Casey, what do you think, like, the big change has been in this upturn we've seen in Argyle? Is it the goals? Is it the confidence or the experience? Because we've actually had the luxury of all 3 developing.
A combination of all of those, but also I think the press. I think that's been the biggest change for me, has been, you know, we've really gone and not allowed any team to settle. And, you know, even you look at Cardiff last week, you know, a side who, generally speaking, are very good on the ball, play good football. We just did not allow them any time to settle. We went and pressed them high. You know, in terms of interceptions, again, we're up there in you know, 8 or 9 a game. I think we're getting currently. You know, it's big numbers, and if you can do that high up the pitch, you're going to create opportunities. And then you've got the likes of, you know, Ben Peppel, Lawrence Lai, you know, your Ronan Curtises, who can then come into their own, because you get players high up the pitch, you create opportunities. And then we've obviously been sticking them in the back of the net recently, which certainly helps things as well. So, yeah, it's just that intensity that we've been playing with recently. Again, does that add into the injuries? You know, you think, you know, but if that's the way we're going to play, then, you know, that's what we like to see. You want to see them going and pressing high and winning the ball back. And I think for me, that's been the real change recently. When, you know, you look at the reverse of results, that's kind of what's really pushed us on.
Yeah, well, it certainly seems to be working. We'll have to hope it works again this afternoon. Let's remind ourselves of the Rotherham side that we take on this afternoon. Again, Aaron, I mean, I know we've spoken about Sam Nombe, of course, as one to watch, but Gray as well, perhaps?
Yeah, so we know that he's got qualities in that kind of left-hand side area. They, like you say, they're a little bit enigmatic because the league table doesn't lie. You know, they're in that bottom 4, but if they can put a run of games together, they've got potency, they've got some big signings, they've got players who have played at higher levels and they're just not achieving their qualities. But Gray in particular, but Josh Benson as well is someone that we've identified as someone who could destabilise us. He's got a lot of qualities. He's their main set play piece taker. He's got a couple of goals and a couple of assists already this year. So, you know, they have got qualities, but we've just got to make sure we thwart what they've got to offer.
Yeah, Final thoughts then before we get ready to hand over. Katie, what do you want to see from Argyle today? I suppose it's like more of what you were saying earlier.
Yeah, just going and being positive and, like I say, go and press high and try and win the ball back. I think for me the key area today is going to be the midfield area. How we're not entirely sure how Argyle are going to set up with which personnel where. We've potentially gone with Joe Edwards playing in the middle. So how well do they link up? Can they get a big foothold in the game? It's been really a big important area for Argyle. When we've had that stability in the middle, we've then been able to go and press. So, if we can get on top in the middle of the park, I think that will really stand us in good stead and then allow us to play a little bit more freely and create those opportunities higher up the pitch.
Yeah. I think we've got just enough time to have a look at some of the fixtures, some of the other games that have been played earlier. There was a couple of early kickoffs. There they are there. Leyton Orient 1, Barnsley 3, Northampton 1, Peterborough 1, and then of course you've got the other fixtures happening as well. It's we know League One, Aaron, is arguably one of the trickiest leagues to be in, and it's just constantly changing. And like we've said before, I think last week after that amazing win against Cardiff, Argyle really need to try and capitalise on the points.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to feel that you've given up the 3 points that you've earned against the best team in the league and then go and lose 3 points at the team that's struggling. Yeah. So, they'll be aware of that. They know that they want to go up and put in a performance. They're more than capable of winning this football match. You've got to settle into it. For me, like what you were saying, Katie, pressing is important, but Malachi Boateng has been a constant. I think he's been really pivotal in that area today, and I think if he continues his good form, then he provides that industrialism, he provides assists, he provides the goals. So he's been an ever constant and one of the more consistent players for Cleverley.
Yeah, and of course we don't want to see any other players get pulled up in the match today, because like you said, it's been a really hard run of games. It's been very congested, and we know we've already got several, like Tom Cleverley said, members of like the spine of the team that are out with injuries at the moment, and there is still the potential for that to keep happening. So hopefully no silly mistakes or no tackles that end up being kind of crucial to taking out more members of the team.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you don't want that, issue, do you? In terms of football's a contact sport, as we know, but the thing we don't like to see is maybe muscle strains and things like that, especially early in the games. We've had to make changes with Joel Rules and Herbie Kane in recent games where it's early in the game, and that's not what you want, because you don't prepare for that, do you? So it's just, we'll have to wait and see how the ground plays.
Hopefully everyone's had enough of a rest since Tuesday that they'll be feeling all right for today. Thank you both for this afternoon and being part of the pre-match show. That is us pretty much done. We are going to get ready to hand over to the commentary team. If you haven't already, go over and get your match passes now. This is probably the best time to do so. You've got just under 10 minutes to grab them before the game starts. You certainly don't want to miss the game. Former Argyle midfielder Lee Makel is alongside Rob McNichol for the commentary in Rotherham, where Argyle go in search of their 4th league win in a row. It's coming up next.
Barley Mumba hoping to maybe change that. Dale on the right-hand side. Lots of green in the middle. And Argyle score! Right on cue, Joe Pools